Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. It's me, Parker, and today I will be talking about the T-34-100 that will be entering War Thunder at 1.51. Obviously, it's a it's a Russian tank, sorry, and it'll be in the medium tank line. Obviously, I highly doubt it'll be before the T-44, but just in case, I'm gonna talk about that. But at the beginning, I'm going to talk about the T-34-100 and its development history. Then I'm going to talk about how I think it will do in game. Well, it's T-34 basically with a 100mm gun. I'm not entirely sure if it's going to have a D10T or a LB1 100mm or a ZIS 100, because they went through 3 different types of 100mm guns for the development history, and effectively it wasn't really a successful prototype. The first two was not. The LB1 was actually rather successful, but at the start it used the T-34-85 turret regular and pretty much mounted the gun in the turret. However, every time it fired it was inaccurate, and basically the transmission and the suspension was put under a lot of stress, so it wasn't exactly very successful. So they had to go forward, and basically they went on with a D10T with a it was a D10. Oh yeah, it was a D10T and a ZIS 100. Yeah, a ZIS 100, which was basically a redesigned ZIS 85mm rebored into a 100mm gun, and they used that in a T-44B turret. And a T-44B at the time was a T-44 with an experimental. It was experimental with a 100mm gun in it. And that wasn't really successful either, and it was still really it wasn't so much as unreliable, but the recoil put a ton of stress on the transmission and the suspension. However, the Red Army loved this tank. They liked it, so they pushed on, and at the very end of 1944, designers came up with the LB1, and despite this being more than 3 meters longer than the tank itself. I mean, this was almost 9 meters. This was over 9 meters long. This gun was. It actually had better reload. No, not reload. Well, its average was about 5.5 rounds a minute, which is actually pretty good for the caliber that it is. And it had less recoil, was pretty accurate, and if the war went for longer, it would have probably went into production. However, because it came to war's end, and it was not so much war's end, because it was near the end of the war, there was no point putting it into production. Because the T-44 was entering combat, as well as successful T-54 prototypes, which, as you know, entered service in 1947, 1949, 1951, as the T-54-1, T-54-2, T-54-3, as I know them by. So yeah, they entered combat, so there's no point to get the actual T-34-100 in. Otherwise, it would probably entered combat with the LB1 100mm gun, and that would have been pretty much endgame for the Germans. Not so much as because as a 100mm gun, but because the amount of tanks they can get out at once with a 100mm gun, which would outclass the Panther's gun by quite a bit. Maybe not in range. Actually, yeah. I don't know how it performs against a KWK-42, but we find out. Right, what else? In-game, yes. Here it is. I think the tank will sit quite comfortably at 6.3, because it can't really compete with the much higher tanks, and it can't really do. It's too overpowered for the lower tiers. Not so much because it's got a 100mm gun. Actually, yeah, that is kind of the point. It's too overpowered for the lower tier tanks. Even though a T-34 can easily be destroyed. Don't care what you think, I can destroy T-34s easily. You just have to know where to hit. Driver's port especially, and about in the middle of the hull. Set off the ammo rack. But the tank itself, with a 100mm gun, has amazing penetrative performance, 175 mils, I think it is in real life, but in the game it probably buffed it a lot to go with the armor buffs and crap. which I completely disagree with. I'll make another video about that, probably. But the 100mm guns will go through anything at lower tiers. It'll go through a King Tiger like butter. Even through the Henschel turret, which is pretty stupid. But there you go, that's life. The gun came out. It's SU-100, had the same gun. D10S. That would have killed a King Tiger, no problem. In any case, comfortably 6.3. 6.7 it'll face off against King Tiger 105s. It'll go off against American tanks that will basically laugh in the face of a 122. It will face off against IS-3s, IS-4s if you're playing arcade. Essentially, yeah. I hope this tank will be a premium. I honestly hope it'll be a premium. Because this tank was essentially it was purely a prototype. Much like the mouse. But the reason the mouse is in the regular tech tree, I think, is because Germany has so few tanks at the moment compared to the other trees, or will do in time, because what they have in the game is pretty much what they had in real life. Because whereas the Americans and the Russians had much more types of tanks, the Germans didn't have really that much in heavy tanks. So I think that's why that's in a regular tree. And the Leopard 1 will probably be in a regular tree, I think. But the T-34-100, I hope it's a premium. I honestly hope it's a premium. Because they have enough mediums as it is already. Don't get me wrong, I am rubbish when it comes to any type of medium tank. Well, I won't say rubbish, but I'm better in a heavy tank. But other than that, that's pretty much all I've got to say. I hope it's a 6.3 tank. We've got 100mm gun, so it will go through anything in its tier like butter. But its armor cannot take any hits at all. Whether it be a Panther or a Tiger or a 76 on the American side, 17-pounder when the British get in, a 122 85 if you're playing arcade and he faces against a Russian tank. It's going to die if you get hit, but it's going to kill something if you hit something. So yeah, that's pretty much it. It's going to have a good rotation turret speed. I reckon, like the T-34-85. T-34-85 does have a very good turret rotation speed, I have to say. But other than that, that's all I've got to say. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you don't know much, if you want to know more about development history, I got all this information off one website. I can't remember what it was, and it's for the record it was basically dedicated to World of Tanks. So I'll put a link of that article in the description for you, so you can have a better look at the history of this vehicle. But yeah, other than that, all I've got to say. Hope you enjoyed. I hope I was informative. I'm sorry if you can hear me breathing quite a bit. I'm breathing quite heavily. So yeah, have a good day, folks. Parker out.